Hello and welcome to Pints and Quarts, a show presented by Craft Beer Nation. Today is April 30th, 2015, and while we don't have a special guest this week, we do have some great guests lined up for the weeks to come. So stay tuned for the biggest names in craft beer as we move towards the summer. Our show tonight is again sponsored by the folks at craftbeveragejobs.com. If you're looking for a job in craft beer, check them out. They're getting some real traffic over there these days on their site, and the list of jobs is always fresh and growing. For the next 30 to 45 minutes, though, we want you to stick around, so get your beer in a glass and get comfortable. Also, while the music is playing, this will be a perfect time to click subscribe on our YouTube, Stitcher, or iTunes channels.
Time now for a look back at the last week in the craft beer industry. Pour a cold one and sit back for an all-new episode of Pints and Quarts, presented by Craft Beer Nation.
All right. We don't have a guest this week, but what we do have is some all-stars. We've got Randy Gardner Jr., Lola Laracy, Gil Mello, myself, Matt Miller, and we're going to talk a little bit about some news stories. We're going to talk about what we think is important and what's going on in the craft beer nation this week. So, Randy, lead us off, man. What were some of the things we saw? What did you see there?
Guess I'm batting lead off this week, huh?
Yeah, take that pitch and
get my Denard span on. Okay, so the first article that we have came from the folks over at the Boston Globe, and it talks about an issue that we've actually discussed, I think, once before on one of our previous episodes, and it's the pay-to-play thing that goes down within the craft beer industry. And basically, for those who aren't familiar with pay-to-play, it's kind of like two ways that you can do it. The article spoke about one way in which distributors pay bars to have their beers served and to have a competitor's beers excluded. And then in another example, retailers demand free booze, rebates, or expensive equipment from distributors in exchange for stocking their products. So essentially the retailer says, hey, if you install our tap lines, we'll put your products on. Well, in this case, the Craft Beer Guild LLC, which is a company out of Massachusetts that does distribution, they were being investigated, and basically they were found to be guilty of pay to play. And the state treasurer, her name is Deborah Goldberg. She's the person in Massachusetts who oversees the ABCC, which is the Massachusetts ABC Commission or whatever. Her quote is, the alleged wrongdoing in this case is serious. So it doesn't come across as these guys got caught maybe, doing pay to play at one of the bars. It sounds like must have been like something that was rampant with this particular distributor, and they got called out on it. And
is that the result of the guy with the pretty things tweet?
Well, so the charges came from an ongoing probe that began in October after inquiries from the Boston Globe, and then it says the investigation intensified later that month when a local brewer sparked a firestorm with an online tirade against
that was
play.
Free things,
right? Yeah. So the pay to play thing is bad because it was put in place after prohibition so that the national companies couldn't essentially muscle the small guys out. I mean, if pay to play weren't illegal, that AB InBev would have all the tap lines bought at your local bar, and you wouldn't be able to get Founders on tap or unless you're like in the middle of Grand Rapids, right? So this is meant to protect craft beer, to protect the smaller guys. I mean, and all of us know some small breweries who make fantastic beer that we're thankful we can get on tap, and that's thanks to the illegality of pay to play. And so I'm kind of glad they cracked down on these guys. I mean, it's unfortunate because they distribute beers for Allagash, Lagunitas, Yingling, Boston Beer Works, and a couple other companies, but I mean, I hate to see that some of those guys are going to be impacted by this, but it must be done. We can't have people doing this in the craft beer industry because it's unfair to to the brewery down the street from me who makes good beer, and they may be not able to get on tap because some distributor has bought out tap lines that they would have otherwise had.
I think it's unfair for any line of food service, right? Although it's accepted on other section of food industry, but I think we're talking about craft beer, but I think it should be the same for all. I think no industry that provides food should have that kind of a power allowed,
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I don't think that you should ever be able to hate on somebody because they're doing well, but at the same time, because you're doing well, you shouldn't be able to prevent other people from being able to do well. And that's what pay to play does. It prevents people who have a lot of money. They can't muscle out the small guy who wants to do well, and it's necessary.
Don't you think this problem happens in every market out there? You mean
with beer?
No, every market out there for other products. Hey, I'm General Electric, and I'm going to buy you all this great shelving for your store as long as you only sell my light bulbs. Or as long as you have.
Or mine is on the first, on the middle shelf, right? And everything else is on the bottom.
Yeah, toothpaste. I think I remember reading one time, like 15 years ago, there was like this huge thing about toothpaste and where on the shelf in the grocery store it goes. And like Crest would come in and pay or do whatever they do to negotiate getting it up at eye level because people don't care about toothpaste. They come in, the first one that's there, the package, it's flashy. So I wonder if it's more about big business against small business and small business trying to survive than it is anything else.
But there's a difference between having your product lower on the shelf and not there at all. So that does make a difference.
No, I mean, yeah.
Well, there is a sublime difference. My wife is 5'5", right? You put it Colgate, it doesn't matter how much she loves, on the very top shelf, she's not going to bother of walking around and call somebody to help her to get something she can reach at.
Well, I mean the whole thing about shelf placing. If you've ever seen the documentary Beer Wars, they do a perfect little segment about that, where there's supposed to be no collusion between the distributors and the brewery themselves. But I mean, when you see these trucks going by with Budweiser all over the side, and you see these guys who work for these distributors walk in with their Budweiser shirt on, and all this stuff, you can't help but to think that there's something going on. I mean, they even have people. I think that they're called like something captains or something. What they do is they go into the store and figure out prime placing for their products. And oftentimes, Matt, to your point, prime placing is right at the average person's eye level. You're more enticed to buy what you see, the first thing you see.
Well, you go into a grocery store and you see the shelving in the beer cooler, and there are only maybe 3 distributors or 4 distributors bringing product to that store for beer. And they do. I'm telling you, I've got a friend who works for a distributor here in Virginia, and they are competitive. The store manager will say, "Listen, we're gonna negotiate beer cooler space at 6:30 a.m. on Wednesday, and if your guy isn't there, then he's not gonna have a chance to negotiate. Hey, we've got this many feet. We want this many feet. We like to be on the left side of the cooler." All those things get worked out. When craft beer started, I mean, you go into the grocery store now compared to even 3 years ago, 4 years ago, and instead of 30 feet of macro beer and 4 6-packs of craft beer, it's really half and half. I mean, one side of my Martin's grocery store chain here, which is giant, is craft beer, and the other is. But I tell you what, all that craft beer is coming from those same 3 distributors, because the big grocery store chains, the Wegmans, those guys aren't buying beer from local breweries that are bringing the stuff in once a week from their truck. It's coming from those same big distributors. So when they renegotiate space, they're just moving product from macro to craft. So that's
Do you remember
those same guys that are buying those tap lines are all invested.
I don't know if you remember a few shows back when I commented about I go to several bottle shops, and I was on one bottle shop, and he had all this beer, and I was like, how do you choose this beer? I never heard from him. He said, well, I don't really choose the beers, but here's what happens. I have to buy everything my distributor offer me, because if I don't do, when KBS and Bourbon County comes out, I'm gonna be on the bottom of the list of who gets those beers. So if I want to get the good stuff, I gotta get the bad stuff as well. So sometimes it's not even pay to play, but that pressure of making that bill, and buy everything.
Unspoken.
I mean, I understand that. Matt, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, that pressure definitely comes from even our craft breweries that we try to elevate. Founders, sales rep will come in, or that distributor will come in and say, listen, KBS is in 2 months. If you want a case of it, I need to see you sell 15 cases of my all day between now and then.
Yeah.
So
it kind of sucks because you would like the beer availability being driven by demand, as opposed to being driven by whether or not you move X amount of my other product. But at the same time, you got to understand that there's a supply chain there, right? So they want to, if they're going to sink all this money into KBS, for example, they want to be sure that it's going to move when it hits the shelves.
Yeah.
What is aggravating too is like a company like that normally that distribute craft beer, they own or they are located in multiple states. And you think if a company do that on a particular state, it has to be a company practice. It has to be all over the place. You wouldn't just single out one state, right?
And it is a reward system because we it's not fair for us to single out founders because it is really a systemic issue. But I'll stick with it for the sake of the metaphor here or the story here. But that KBS, that distributor, to their defense, they're getting 40 cases, and they've got 50 accounts or they've got 25 accounts.
Mm-hmm.
That beer is going to sell within the hour it gets put on the floor, whether they give 40 accounts one case or one account 40 cases. So they might as well. They're just trying to share it around, and give that little guy a chance to sell 24 bottles one at a time and bring customers into his store.
Right, so, but that's different. That's different from stopping the establishment to sell something else, right? To stick with your product. That's not what they do. True. So I think they are just trying to do business. As you said, they have so many. They have to choose who gets those. So that's not. I don't see that as a problem. I see a problem when you start stopping other products to get into an establishment.
There's a difference between rewarding somebody who sells a lot of your product, but rewarding them with your exclusive line and your limited line and getting that traffic volume. And there's a difference between that and saying, hey, here's money, put my beer on your taps.
Because in that case, they're hurting another company. They're hurting another company at that point.
Right.
I mean, we won't get our KBS with the first scenario, but with the second scenario, we may not even get our Lagunitas,
Yep.
All right, between stories here, I want to take a quick moment and talk about craftbeveragejobs.com. Our job of the week this week is from Dutch Girl Brewery. They need a full-time assistant brewer. I am not familiar with Dutch Girl Brewery. Have any of you had anything from them?
No. Do you have to use clogs to work there?
They might, and you live in Lancaster, Gil, so you're Dutch country there. It's a new brewery located in beautiful Spring Lake on West Michigan's Lakeshore. DGB, which they abbreviate themselves as, is seeking a full-time assistant brewer that shares a passion for the art with others and assists in the daily production functions in the brewery. I read that as code for keg washing.
Hey, that's all right. Somebody got to do it.
Yeah, you got to start somewhere, man. They will assist in the creation of a wide range of traditional style beers infused and barrel aged on our 5-barrel system. This person will be responsible for the areas in the production brewery operation, which include, but not limited to, brewing, sip and general cleaning, packaging, kegging, shipping and handling, transporting, and many other respective tasks. This person should be comfortable with guest interaction as a regular part of their duties, but be self-motivated also and willing to be part of a small team taking direction from the brewers and supervisors. So if you want to work for Dutch Girl Brewery in Michigan, which is probably a pretty good place to live if you're loving beer and craft beer.
And you like wooden shoes.
Yeah, and you like wooden shoes.
Mm-hmm.
If
and
you like
going Dutch.
I can't imagine they're very comfortable to walk around in those wooden shoes.
They are. I wear some. They are actually comfortable. But moving
All
on.
right, now we know a little bit more about Gil than we probably should. But, check out craftbeveragejobs.com for that job and any job. If you're, I mean, they're all over the place on that website, so they've got lots of traffic and lots of jobs from all around the country.
It's not just beer. You can also get like jobs in the coffee industry.
Craft beverage jobs,
Yeah,
right? Coffee
there you
and
go.
wine and everything else. If you're aiming to be a barista, which probably means you were a theater major in college, then really check out that website. And I shouldn't pick on that because I've got a really good friend who was a theater major in college and is now, in fact, a barista. So maybe she's looking for a new job. I'll send her the link. All right, what's our next story on the lineup?
Well, we have a kind of a debate going on right now. You know, the Brewers Association is preaching for the 2020, which has nothing to do with the vision. So their goal is to get a 20% share on the market by 2020. The thing is, how is gonna craft beer, craft breweries, or the craft segment look in 2020 with all the changes? Because what they did right now, when was that? Just the end of last year that they increased the volume production volume?
No, that was the beginning of last year, I think.
Yeah, it was a while ago. To 6 million, still be qualified as a craft brewer.
Yeah, so that helped because Sam Adams was right Virgin line there. I mean, I remember there was even the news that they hold their production a little bit so they wouldn't lose their craft beer badge at the time. With this increase, all of a sudden you get all those breweries, including Minas. Remember we talked about them a little bit.
Minas or Minhouse or
Minhouse. Yeah, Minhouse. I think that's the right name. Yeah, Minehouse. Yeah, England. Because we know, I don't know what's your opinion, but in my opinion is the size of the brewery has nothing to do with the quality of the beer, right?
Absolutely.
So, and also, you don't need to be tagged as craft beer to have good beer, which side to side. And I think England was one of the examples of that. Family-owned, the great business model, and I think they deserve to come into craft beer. But at the same time, we saw a lot of the beers that we loved so much, like Goose Island, and some prominent breweries that 10 barrels, they got sold because I think 25% is the max that a big corporation can own from your company.
Is it 25 or 30? It's probably 25.
Yeah, I think you can't exceed 25 to have an ownership to be part of the Brewers Association craft beer. And so there's a question mark right there. With all those changes, and a lot of people are saying that this move from the Brewers Association was a little bit so they can move into their goal numerically to get that 20%. Which, if you think about dollar amount, we are already craft beer already about 20% when it comes to dollar sales. They're just volume that they're about 11% right now. So I don't know what you guys think. Do you think this is going to change the landscape when it comes to
hang on a second. Let's talk quick about that number. You're saying to be considered craft beer, you cannot be owned more than 25% by a macro brewery?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, by
one
any,
of the big boys. What's the percentage of Terrapin's investment from Miller Coors? Is it less than that?
No, it's like 30-something%.
So does that mean Terrapin's not a craft beer brewery anymore?
By definition, they're not. And surprisingly, you know who else is not craft beer by definition?
Who?
Gil, put your hands over your ears. Founders.
Yeah.
30%.
Yeah, but what was their
no, but I don't think that's the thing then, because Founders is still on the list of Brewers Association.
Well, according to the article from MainStreet.com, it said Grand Rapids, Michigan-based Founders was removed from the BA membership this year after selling a 30% stake to Spanish brewer Mijael San Miguel.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
When I read that, it was a bombshell to me when I read that.
It's a macro brew. Oh
But
no.
of course, that comes down to what one Brewers Association says, and I give a lot of credence to what the BA says because I think they've got craft beer's interests, best interests at heart. But boy, I tell you, I guess that just shows to how blind we'll be to the breweries we want to be loyal to.
Yeah.
Everybody wants Goose Island, damn those guys for selling out, but then they follow the truck from the brew into the Total Wine and knock people over to buy their beer.
I will tell you, it was very hard for me not to get Bourbon County this year. Almost to pain. I felt pain
hard
of
for me not to get it that I got some.
Yeah.
But
the question
dirty about it though.
Gil,
and again, for me, is not the matter of how much you own it or if you consider craft beer because of the volume. And I have a problem with the business motto of AB and Bev and coolers. That's my problem. I don't have a problem that you have investment money in. If you're keeping up quality, if you're still making the decisions, if you own the majority. My problem is when you're taken over by a company who has very poor business model. My problem with the AB and Bev and with Miller Coors is beyond beer. Is more as
ethical business practices.
Right. Yeah. You should not be putting your dollars into large corporations that do a predatory business. That's just me.
I'm with you. So Gil, I think the question in this article, Matt, is we want to get to 20% market share, but how are we going to get there? Are we going to get there by keep altering the definition of what a craft brewer is to allow some are we going to roll back from 25% to say 30 to 35%? To be able to bring folks like Founders and Sweetwater or Terrapin or whoever we said just now, are we going to increase the percentage of allowed by an outside corporation to bring those guys back into the fold? The question, the point is, craft beer will be unrecognizable because almost everybody at some point in time will be considered craft beer because the definition will keep changing so that we can get to the 20% market share that
Are we gonna be as anal as we are right now?
Yeah.
And keep drinking about I'll tell you right now, I'm not giving up Founders, unless they sell out. What I think is a sellout. I don't think their case is a sellout. I think there is a point where any company has to take some investment money to grow and to keep going. You're a business. You want to move forward. Because when you lose your company as a heart and what you do is that becomes a problem for me.
I guess it all comes down to it's a personal decision on everybody's part. And Goose Island is proof that there are a few of us that won't drink their beer, but there are a lot of people that still will buy it, enjoy it, and have a good time with it. And that's what AB and Bev. That's why they spent all the money they did to buy them. That's why they bought Elysian, because they know that brand loyalty is going to outweigh the people who want to dig into it and think that what they're doing is wrong and bad for business. So, we as Randy said something I love here the other day, and he said it before, is I'm going to vote with my dollar. And my dollar is pretty dang powerful because I have more income spent on beer than a lot of people do. So I've got to think I'm the target market. And when I want a 12-pack of something to take to a friend's house, it's going to be Founders, it's going to be Lagunitas, it's going to be those guys that I can get that I know the quality of the product and it's distributable. But when I want a growler or something for the back porch on a summer evening, I've got Denizens in the backyard. I've got local breweries, Blue Mountain. I'm going to go to those kind of places and give the nano. I can meet the owner. I can meet the brewer. I can make that relationship. I'm going to give them my money in those situations.
Yeah.
And I guess there's probably enough business for both of those guys to succeed.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, it's a personal decision. I mean, I have to say, on Goose Island's defense, their Bourbon County, from what I hear, is as good as ever been. So, there's a thing of quality, but I just
But that's
not gonna go
because
there. I'm not gonna go there.
That's because of how they structure their deal. They still the Goose Island guys, the original Goose Island guys, still brew that beer. AB InBev don't have their hands on that. For me, selling out is selling to AB InBev or Miller Coors. You sell to one of those guys. Not that you care what Randy thinks, but I'm done with you.
We ought to get Brett Porter back on the show because it's been about 2 years since we talked to him, and when AB InBev bought in, John Lafler left? Was it Lafler? Is that how does he say it?
John Lafler, yeah.
Yeah, and they brought in Deschutes guy. They brought in Brett Porter, and Brett said right to us on the air that they're not telling him how to brew beer. They're trying to get out of his way because they don't want to screw with the magic that they've got going on over there.
Yeah.
So AB, but Ashley Bauer will point out too is every dollar you give them is a dollar that they're using to beat up on the other little guy in every single way they can. And this story, will go back to the top of the hour here, was exactly that. That's a distributor that's got money from all the Miller or all the Bud or all the whatever else they're selling, and they're using that to buy tap lines and buy taps. And
so my answer for the 2020 is that line is going to get very blurred by 2020.
Yeah.
It's going to be smudged. It's not going to be a line anymore. It's going to be a smudged thing right there.
Yeah. Well, and I think that we could blast past the 20% if that's going to be the only metric that they want to review, because I definitely think there's a lot of growth available. I don't think that we're going to see. We've got 3,500 breweries in America. 5 years from now, I don't think we're going to see 45. In fact, I think nobody wants to talk about market saturation, but I would rather see 2,500 quality craft breweries that can distribute regionally than I would see 10,000 marginal craft breweries that are making beer that isn't acceptable. So
man, I'm gonna keep saying this. People keep talking market saturation, and I disagree because there's so much room for, like I said, not everybody has aspirations to be Sierra Nevada. So there's so much room for a small brewery. Gil, one of your favorite places, St. Boniface. You go there. They're a small brewery,
my backyard, yeah.
And they're surviving off of their motto. But I'm sure they don't have even Springhouse. They don't want to be New Belgium. They're fine serving their community, and there's much more room in the industry for people like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Randy, next time you come to Jacksonville, we've got to go to Aardwolf.
Done.
Because that's them exactly. They do not distribute. They don't bottle. They don't can nothing. It's just straight from the brewer.
Let's do it.
So I guess we're a broken record. Anytime we don't have a guest on here, we end up kicking on the big craft breweries, right? Or the big, macro breweries. But sometimes they do this to themselves. I mean,
yep.
So, if anybody wants to think that the marketing department at AB InBev is like 45 frat brothers that just like make stupid sexist jokes and high five each other, I'm sure that's what their marketing department is. A bunch of bros out there high fiving each other because they're the wittiest guy at the party. Have you seen this Bud Light bottle that made all the rage?
Oh, yeah.
AB actually apologized for it, but apologized by making better decisions.
Yeah.
It said something about remove no from your vocabulary.
Yeah.
So
right now, where the biggest thing on the social media is respect no, they went right opposite, like right in front of it and crash it.
Well, this isn't the first time that they had an issue with that whole no slogan, because if I recall correctly, I think maybe about 2 months ago. Well, I'm sorry, not the no slogan, but the down for whatever slogan.
Yeah.
Like 2 months ago, I wish I could remember what the article was or what the issue was, but it was a real rapey sounding thing when it was about helping to make sure that everybody's down for whatever, and it was like I can't remember exactly what it was, but
drink a bunch of these, and then everybody in your group will be down for whatever.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, drink a few of these, and the women will be down for whatever.
They make it sound like roofies.
Right.
I mean, if you think about it, chemically, it kind of is, right? It lowers inhibitions, and it does all those kind of things. So but
so does many other drugs out there.
But that shouldn't be a selling point.
Yeah, right.
Well,
For anything.
the point is, you take that issue, you take this issue with removing no from your vocabulary, you take this Super Bowl commercial into account. They have some idiots running their marketing department.
Well, I think they're suffering from big company narrow mind, right? They're sitting in their own world and they're out of touch with what's happening out there.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not, I mean,
How
you
do
just
they
need to spend about 10 minutes on the internet to see that the word no is a big deal. You have to be very careful how you use the word no right now. for
We like
anything.
the word no.
Social media justice is swift and harsh.
Yep.
I don't understand how there isn't any legal action involved here, because if you, what's that sleeping drug, Ambien? If Ambien were to put a marketing slogan on there like, well, she'll be asleep for 3 hours, can you
Yeah.
imagine? Can
Yeah.
you? There would be the, there would be legal ramifications immediately. So
Well,
I
they don't
don't-
have they don't have a what the moral and thing that, like they have in England and in UK, like that they veto like half of the packs that comes out just because it might encourage drinking in underage or mine. Dude, they don't have an association like that here. That's why that happened.
Yeah.
Well, which is a
think
good thing in many ways.
I think though that, man, when you talk about gray areas like this, we should really strive for more black and white, because any degradation of male or female, it's disgusting that it gets to this point, and all of social media, all of everything is focused on this right now, to be trying to be cautious about these things, and then someone in a giant billion-dollar firm comes up with that as a slogan, and no one throws up a red flag.
They should be required. They should be required to put pictures of their young daughters beside them at all time, and every time they think of a slogan, look at their young daughter and go, "Oh."
But here's the thing. Here's the unfortunate thing. The average Budweiser or Bud Light drinker is not gonna stop drinking that beer because of this.
No.
No.
Well, they want less no. They want that.
Well,
That's
they're
the
drinking it because
unfortunate
it's there's no taste. They can drink 15 of them, and it's cheap.
Hmm.
So.
And if
don't
only
think-
they knew that they could just. Go ahead, Matt.
No, I don't think there's a whole lot of people putting their Bud Light in a glass, going, "Oh man, I have just look at the color is." You know.
If only they knew they could be enjoying a nice cold shore cream ale instead of
Well,
drinking
but with
crap.
the pay for play, they don't know.
Yeah, good point,
It's
Lola.
not available, and that's the thing. It's about positioning ourselves so that we can educate people. But with the pay for play, people remain ignorant because all they have are these macro lines. So we're trying to better the world.
Again, they shot their foot again. Somebody who needs to teach them to shit forward.
That's that Brazilian lost in translation.
I know, but he
you
got
know,
that time that he has other.
Yeah,
times.
you know, when you do something wrong, when you shoot your own foot.
Yeah,
that's,
we got you. I'm just messing with you.
You know, talking about accents, those crazy BrewDog guys.
I love them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, they're
what was-
big. Go ahead.
No, I was asking you, Gil. Tell me about their.
Well,
big
you know,
business.
they're big friends of Greg Koch, right from Stone. I mean, they do lots of stuff together, and I know on one of their shows recently, they did a whole thing in Berlin and spent tons of time with them.
They kicked the Reinheitsgebot to the curb.
Yeah, to the curb. and they've said over and over that the Sams from Dogfish Head and Greg are their idols. You know, that's why they brew nowadays. So inspired on that, they're making a beer called Born to Die, which is a beer that is inspired by Stone Enjoy By. But they went further, because I think the Enjoy By is 40 days, right? They want to do a beer that you have to drink in 30 days. So they're going to speed the
So
process.
the beer is born to die. The
Born
trouble
to
is
die.
that we're
The
never going to
talk
get it
is
in the
too-
U.S. inside 30 days.
No.
I know, it's going to stay on
Well,
the shelf. You know?
They're looking for a brewery. The BrewDogs are, I think they're putting a brewery here in U.S.
In Columbus, Ohio, from what I've heard.
Ah, see? So you
Oh,
may be able to get it.
I'll tell you this. You guys know I'm a big Stone fanboy, but I kind of like the name Born to Die better
I
than
do
Enjoy
too.
By.
It's another good name.
I do. Sorry, Greg. Sorry, Greg.
Yeah. But you know,
It
think
feels-
about the.
I was just going to say, it feels like you're moving towards something. You're born to die. You're ready. You're going, and then you're going to crash.
But the big deal with Stone there is, besides the beer, it's all that's a distribution thing. I mean, the whole trick to getting that beer in our hands on the East Coast is timing. So there's 40 days from the time they bottle it to when the date is, but they've got to, it's a week-long drive if you team drive that thing across the United States. So they've got a real big challenge ahead of them. And maybe Europe being smaller and more compact, these guys will
and just the willingness to do that for your customers. It doesn't matter if it's whatever. It's just that ingenuity and trying to get to something.
What we need to do? We need to get Simon Martin on this show with a Born to Die.
Yeah,
let's do it. That'd be hard.
Get up at 2:00 in the morning and come on the show and drink a Stone the Crow's Born to Die.
It will come out in the early summer.
Have him do a live review.
Oh man, I think Pints and Quarts first ever European joining the Great Britain. All right. Also, beer releases. When did you say that's coming, Gil? Early June, early summer?
Yeah, it's supposed to be in the first weeks of summer. That's their goal. Right now, they're doing that big barrel age crazy beer again. One new that they're coming out, so they're involved in that. But yeah, that's their next thing.
To be honest with you, I've never had a beer from them. I see it, but it's so expensive, and I don't know what they are.
Tokyo is amazing, and Punky IPA is excellent. And Punky IPA is not that expensive.
And the Tokyo is their stout, is an imperial stout.
Yeah, that can verge on the $9, but man, that beer is amazing.
Maybe I'll take it. I always see it on the shelf. I just never go for it. Maybe I'll get one of their. Is it a Russian imperial or just a big stout?
Yeah, I think it's a big stout. Try their Punk IPA. That is
Punked. Yeah, I think I've seen that too.
Punk IPA.
All right. Is that like a blue label or a teal colored label?
I think so. I pay $9 for a pint, but when I see this stuff, it's like $11 and $12.
Punk IPA.
All right, I'll look for it. All right, this
or
week
Gil can bring it to Savor.
Yeah, Gil can bring it to Savor. That's right, because we're all going. Well, everybody but Lola. It's too far for Lola to drive, but Randy, Gil, and I are going to be at Savor both nights in the first weekend in June. Beer releases this week, also of note, Heavy Seas. We had Hugh Sisson on last week, and they've got Blackbeard's Breakfast Imperial Coffee Porter. Imperial Coffee, I was going to say stout, but porter is what it is. It's aged in bourbon barrels, and 11% barrel-aged porter. That sounds kind of delicious.
And the label is beautiful.
Is it? Well, they always deliver on good art. They've got some great art and a great art team there. Breckenridge's their Comic-Con beer from this year is called Hulk Smash. It's a pale ale coming out. It says
tomorrow.
That's probably a smash beer, right? I mean, I'm sure that's what they were going
tomorrow.
For.
Yeah, I don't know. It would make sense to be a smash beer, but that would be pretty awesome. And what was their Breck IPA is out now too, and I interacted with them on G Plus or Facebook on one of their posts and said I'm not getting it here in Virginia, and they said they're having some distributor somewhere is having some trouble moving stuff around. But Randy, have you seen that Breckenridge IPA, the Breck IPA yet?
No, I haven't.
No.
So it's not in Northern Virginia, it's not in Central Virginia, but it'll get here soon. And apparently they're having awesome demand for it. So good for our friends there at Breckenridge. Mm-hmm. New Belgium's got their Lips of Faith ginger pear beer next week.
They got 2 bottles already.
They did.
That's here already.
Yeah.
Oh, see, they did. I just got their release and said, well, next week is their release party, I think. Then.
I tell you, oh, gosh, this is going to be. Is Shiner a craft beer or a macro beer?
I think so. No, Shiny is a craft beer.
All right, because I had one of their pear. A friend of mine brought me back one of their pear.
Prickly pear,
and it wasn't terrible. It was actually I would drink that before I drank a shandy.
Hey, they have a beer called Birthday Cake that's pretty damn good.
Yeah, that chocolate stout.
And their Christmas beer, Shiner Christmas Cheer, was really good.
Yeah. Good on. Anyway, they weren't on the releases. I saw pear, and there's not a lot of pear beers out there. 6 Point. Jammer Goza is 4.2% Goza with coriander and Jacobson salt. That comes out tomorrow. And we have met with Shane Welsh a few times on here, and Jammer's kind of like his go-to word. Man, you guys got to try this little Jammer out. So I'm sure he's influenced the name of that beer. I mean, you got to watch some of our interviews with him. He's hysterical. Hardywood in Richmond, right here in our great state, has got two beers to the barrel series. They've got their bourbon barrel aging, that chocolate raspberry that won gold at.
No, that's actually a new one.
That's chocolate raspberry.
They're both raspberry, so it's a new addition to their raspberry series. So they addition of vanilla and chocolate, I think.
And chocolate. All right. Well, those beers are coming out on Saturday.
They also just released their bourbon barrel Grand Cru as well. It's like a Belgian quad.
That was last week, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's in distribution because I think I saw my local bottle shop got a case of that today.
Yeah.
Flying Dog in Maryland has got Numero Uno Summer Cerveza Pale Ale. That's released on Friday or on May the 5th, Cinco de Mayo. So that'll be a good sounding pale ale. Is that a tequila-based thing, or is that just
no? I think it's just a more session of their pale ale. Good. I think Numero Uno they have it, and the Summer Cerveza is more like a Mexican-style lager. I think they tried to replicate it.
All right. There was some kind of tequila beer that one of the big macros put out that I don't like tequila, so I'm not.
Even the one with the Dia de los Muertos face kind of on the it's a weird name brewery I'd never heard, but I know they're owned by the market. But it's kind of all of a sudden you see that beer everywhere. So.
Yeah, I don't like tequila, just period. So
yeah, me neither.
Stone has got their bourbon barrel aged Arrogant Bastard. They also released the Stone Pale Ale 2.0. Has anybody? Is this a re-release or another release of the Arrogant Bastard?
I think that they've had this before.
Yeah,
they had it in that
year. Yeah, but that's a new pack with the red label.
All right.
If any of y'all see it, please give me a bottle.
Grab one of them. All right, I'll pick you one up. Weyerbacher has got Tart Nouveau Sour Ale brewed with blood orange coming out last week.
That'll be delicious.
Weyerbacher's. Have you had it, or it sounds delicious?
No, it sounds delicious. I mean, they make good beer, so.
Yeah, you're right. They don't usually miss. So.
They have a barley wine that is excellent. I don't know if you guys tried. Can't remember the name now.
It's not the one with the jester on the label.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
Oh, Blithering Idiot.
Yes, there you go.
There you go. I think that's the name.
Man, that's a warming beer there. Mm-hmm. That's a good beer. That's it for the releases. Festival-wise, we've got Missoula Craft Beer Week in Missoula, Montana, and that's 25th through May 2nd. So that's coming to an end this weekend. Harrisburg, Pennsylvania is coming here to an end on Saturday. And did you see that 717, that collaboration beer they did, Trogs, with Pizza Boy, Alza Hamden?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah, I saw some of the guys here. One of the guys here in town has a couple cases of that. I haven't tried it. I'll try and get one off of them. Rochester Craft Beer Expo, Rochester, Minnesota, not Rochester, New York. That's on Saturday. Legendary Boonville Beer Festival in Boonville, California on Saturday. Seattle Beer Week actually starts on the 7th of May and goes through the 17th, so that's 10 days. I guess they want to have one beer week with 2 beer weekends. The Wild West Brew Fest in Katy, Texas on Saturday, May 2nd. And North Dakota Brewers Festival is in Minot, North Dakota on May 2nd as well. And I'm going to talk slowly because everyone in North Carolina is just starting to come down off their bike.
They're waking up to watch the show.
They're starting to wake up, but North Carolina's beer month is coming to an end now. So today is your last day for that. You can't drink again until next April, I guess. I don't know. Do they have beer in North
They may not want to. Huh?
You're absolutely
After
right.
a whole month, they're like, we're just going to go to sleep.
Yeah. Yes, that's correct. So, hey, everybody, we have a guest again next week. And until then, really, I think this has been a good show. I've had a good time talking with you guys, and I hope to do this again next week. So until next week, you guys and everyone out there, find some great beer. Find some better friends. And how about we mind those P's and Q's?
This has been Pints and Quarts, brought to you by Craft Beer Nation. You can show your support for our podcast by subscribing to our content on YouTube, Stitcher, iTunes, or our website, craftbeernation.org. Thanks for listening.